You can drink out of either of these. One is perfect, flawless, factory produced like tens of thousands of others you can find on shelves all over the world. It has no history, it tells no story. But the other one, it is bruised and battered. It has weight and scars. It's got a tale to tell. It's seen more than you or I could possibly imagine. Every story has a hero, and it seems to me that lately, many of them are like this glass. Shiny, empty, and fatally easy to forget. People have this notion that fantasy is about escaping from reality. But that's a child's idea of it. Good fantasy, the kind that really sticks inside your ribs, is about looking at reality through a different and often darker lens. And to do that, you need a character with weight. Not just a convenient list of superpowers and a winning smile. You wouldn't want your army armored with pillows and armed with pool noodles, would you? No, would you like your vehicle to be square-wheeled with glass seats? No, of course not. So why do we accept so many heroes and just characters in general that are built on the same fundamental lack of thought? Grab your drinks, friends. Fill them up. And let's talk about the plague of the 21st century. There are two counterfeit coins that have been passed around the realm of modern fantasy more than any other. They look different, but they're struck from the same cheap leaden metals. The first is one I call the flawless god from within the machine. You all are undoubtedly aware of the type, the hero who can do no wrong, but for no apparent reason. This has become an overwhelmingly popular trope in anime as of late, and it is frustrating. Now, if you're not a fan of Japanese animation or animated stories in general, you may feel like this video won't have much to offer you, because we are going to talk about quite a few examples in modern anime and animation, but I promise you that the point still stands regardless of the medium. The most egregious example of this comes from an anime with a ridiculously long name called I left my A-rank adventuring party because they didn't appreciate me, so I'm using my secret S-rank powers to help my adorable Forno students conquer the deepest depths of the dungeon. And the hero is effortlessly and somewhat comically overpowered. And this from page 1, from the get-go. And everyone, except for the primary villains, loves him for no discernible reason. He's not overwhelmingly good, he's not overwhelmingly talented, he just has these innate powers that are gifted to him by the plot. He faces no real stakes, no real challenges, and he solves every problem with an effortless flick of his wrist. It's a story that asks nothing of its hero, and in turn, gives nothing to the audience. It's not so much a story as much as it is a slideshow presentation of unearned victories. It's the emotional equivalent of eating cotton candy for dinner. By the way, did you know that the French call cotton candy daddy's beard? I just wanted to bring that in because it's very weird. Not that, yeah, it's the French. But much like the French name for cotton candy, it leaves you feeling sick and empty at the end, having eaten nothing but sweet air. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have the exact same problem, but in, well, not even really in different clothing, if we're being honest, and that is the Immaculate Queen, born of the marketing department. Now, I want to be very clear before I go into this. This is not a problem with female heroes or female leads. This is a problem with this specific kind of female heroes and female leads, which are a reflection of the flawless god from within the machine. So this isn't a problem with women in stories being strong. This is an issue of writers of stories being weak. This is the character who inexplicably beats the seasoned warrior her first time ever picking up a sword. She's always the smartest person in the room, even though we've never seen a moment of study from her. Every time we ever see her doubt is when we're exposed to her flaws, which are really just endearing quirks, if we're being honest. Like being a little bit clumsy, or liking sweets too much, or perhaps being a little bit aloof. They paper over a complete lack of character with a thin veneer of strength, leading to these repetitive, hollow scenes of unearned praise. "Oh, you're absolutely amazing," says the seasoned general who she just beat in a sword fight, inexplicably. It feels hollow because we've never seen the work. We never saw the doubt, the fear, the failure. We never get to see the forge marks. So what is the cure for this plague of perfection? Well, it is, and always has been, a flawed core. Specific earned skills born of the character's estranged and damaged nature. Take the character of Friedrin from Friedrin Beyond Journey's End, which is a wonderful show. Even if you don't like animation, it is well worth a watch. Friedrin is an elf, a renowned hero of great power, having defeated a demon king alongside a party of other heroes. Very literally more powerful than almost anyone alive. By all rights, based on the way that things are written these days, she should be boring. A walking victory lap. So why isn't she? Because her flaw is profound, and it is born of her strength. What should be her greatest strength, her immortality. Time itself has made her emotionally stunted and lazy and blind to the fleeting beauty of the lives around her. Her journey isn't about gaining power. It is a slow and agonizing journey of learning the value of one single, fleeting human life. It is about the eternal, learning the beauty of the ephemeral, of the temporary. It's about learning one of the most difficult things for us human beings to do, to say goodbye. And that is a story with a soul. And switching gears a little bit to something a little bit less serious, you have the character of Mao Mao. I know, I'm talking about a lot of anime today. Grow up. They're great stories. I refuse to hear any grievance. She is a girl kidnapped and enslaved in the imperial court of Three Kingdoms, China. She has no magic, she has no sword skills, she has no connections, she has no power. Her only power is that she is sort of eccentrically brilliant. She was raised by a doctor and apothecary in the brothel of a pleasure district. And she became obsessed as a child with learning about medicines and poisons and venoms. All educated by the School of Hard Knocks and an eccentric doctor who was her adoptive father. And her flaws are born of that eccentricity. She's abrasive, she's socially inept, she's emotionally distant, and she has an absolutely unhealthy compulsion to put things she believes are poison or venomous into her mouth, all just to see what it does. And she succeeds and fails based on the merit of her very strange and unique flawed character. Her knowledge is hard won through a strange and difficult life. It is her sword and shield, and things don't always work out for her. That is strength. That other thing is just a power fantasy. And power fantasies can be fun, but not when you're trying to convince us it's relatable. Now, with that being said, A character's flaws are only as meaningful as the laws of the world that they have to contend with. And a story must have laws, as solid as stone and as unyielding as iron. And if you break those laws for the convenience of your hero, the whole structure comes tumbling down. And for the ultimate proof of this, we must return to the most sacred case study in modern myth-making, a tale of two avatars. The first story, the one about the boy named Aang, gives a brilliant and unbreakable rule. The mastery of elephants is a spiritual and philosophical ordeal, and it is tied directly to the bender's soul. And we see this when Aang struggles with firebending, terrified of its destructive power because of his own pacifist nature. But nowhere in the whole story is it more evident and more realized than in Aang's struggle with earthbending. For Aang, an air nomad whose whole being was about freedom and evasion and letting go, the opposite element was earth, stubborn, about standing your ground, and it was agony for him. He could not move it. And why? Because to bend earth, you must stand your ground. You must be unmovable, stubborn as the mountain. And for Aang, the act of not running away was a source of profound trauma. His core nature, his instinct to evade and flee, was the very thing that caused him to abandon his destiny, leaving him trapped in an iceberg for 100 years while his people were burned from the world. Every time he failed to move that rock, he wasn't just failing the lesson, he was being forced to confront the ghost of his greatest mistake. Learning earthbending wasn't just learning a new fighting style, it was an act of profound and painful healing. The struggle was the story. The power was earned in the soul's own forge. And then the next story comes along. We meet Korra, a prodigy, a powerhouse, a waterbender who, by the ancient laws of this world, should have struggled profoundly with firebending. But she doesn't. She's a natural. By the time she's a toddler, she's mastered 3 out of the 4 elements, and no struggle anywhere in sight. The writer simply decided that the rule no longer mattered. Her struggle would be with airbending. They move the goalpost and say it's because of her personality. She's impatient. She's hard-headed. Of course she is. And how does she overcome this great challenge? Is it through humility, do you think? Does she find a quiet place in her soul to reflect upon the teachings that every airbender before her and every avatar before her had to learn? No, of course not. You know what video you're watching. In the climax, her bending is taken away by the enemy. She's broken and at her lowest point in the entirety of the series because she's not automatically more powerful than everyone else. Until, in a sheer moment of desperation to save a friend, she just punches. She punches out some air and suddenly she's a master of airbending. One moment she can barely sneeze out a puff of wind, and the next she is mastering techniques that Aang himself had to invent after having mastered airbending. There's no training montage, no spiritual journey, just poof, you got a new skill set. You leveled up. And conveniently, it was delivered right when the plot needed it, to no one's surprise. Do you see the problem? Aang's journey taught him that his core nature needed to grow and change, whereas Korra's journey taught her that her core nature, which was basically when in doubt punch more, was in fact right all along. Her arrogance is validated, not overcome. She doesn't learn to harmonize with the philosophy of air. She forces air to bend to her will. The story breaks its own sacred rule, sacrifices character growth, and cheapens the very magic that it is built on, all for an overwhelmingly convenient and flashy ending. They built a beautiful and shining sword. Korra's character had potential, but then they quenched it all wrong. Oh sure, it'll look magnificent on the wall, but it is forged with a hollow heart. Now, with all that I've said, you may be thinking, Castle, you just want every story to be perfect. A story does not need to be perfect to be good. And to prove that, I will bring to you the cheese. Glorious 90s television cheese. Let's talk about Hercules and Xena. Some of you may not be old enough to know what these are, but these shows were built on cheddar. The effects were often terrible, the plots were repetitive, the leather outfits were questionable at best. By all rights, these shows should have been forgotten, lost to the infinite aether of television trash. So why do so many people still remember them? And not just remember them, but remember them fondly. Why do they endure? Because underneath all that glorious camp, the characters had scars. Xena's entire life was a desperate, bloody attempt to atone for a monstrous past she could never truly escape. Every good deed was weighed against an ocean of sin. And Hercules, he was the strongest man in the world, but there was nothing he could do to protect his family from the petty squabbles of immortal gods. And his real story wasn't his strength, it was his grief. The shows were often silly, yes, but the core struggles felt real, and that made them tolerable and memorable. They're like a beat-up old car, your first car. It may have been terrible, but you have fond memories with it. It got you where you needed to go. It sometimes was the first look at freedom. These shows had soul, and they got you somewhere that was worth going. Sadly, I must report to writers of the day that a character is not a collection of cool powers and witty comebacks. Character is a collection of scars, of choices, both good and bad. A character, like the world, needs to feel lived in. Those choices of the characters, they are the cracks in the mirror, they are the dents in the armor, the scorch marks on the blade left over from the forge. A story without a truly flawed character at its core is just spectacle. And spectacles, like fireworks, they can be brilliant and dazzling for one glorious moment, but then they fizzle out and fade away. And then there's nothing left but smoke and the faint smell and taste of sulfur. And this vague feeling that you've just seen a whole lot of nothing. Give me the story with the scarred tankard every time. It doesn't just hold ale, it holds a soul. And until next time, I will bid you, stay bloodthirsty, travelers. And remember, the good stories, they've all got a few dents in them. We'll see you next time.